Today is the big day, my friends. Our 100 days on the island are finally coming to a close because we are about to challenge the final boss of this map, the Overseer. Well, actually, it's day 94, meaning we got 6 more days to finish any unfinished business. So before heading into the tech cave, let's attempt to knock some things off our bucket list. For one, there were a few creatures me and the boys still wanted to get our hands on. Birdie really wanted to tame a Giga.
It's behind me, isn't it?
I really wanted to get a Ceratosaurus. It's down to 14? And everyone definitely wanted an otter because, well, they were jealous of how cute Clyde is. Now, because I'm the tribe leader, and this definitely is not up for debate, I decided we need to prepare for the Ceratosaurus hunt first. Turns out that's a pretty difficult endeavor, so in the last 94 days I've been collecting every single Ceratosaurus spine I could get my hands on. But in order to begin the taming process, we needed one more thing: blood. I'm gonna need you guys to fill these up.
What do you mean, fill what up?
No, the real question is how many times can I... Ooh, my health is going down.
I think I accidentally ate my own blood.
Alright, later.
Why wouldn't you just heal?
They might be idiots, but they're my idiots. Listen, I'm not saying that stabbing a needle into your virtual character for 15 minutes straight to get poverty amounts of blood is a fun process, but it is what we had to do in order to get that tame. And because respawning at full HP is actually faster than trying to out-heal the damage you do to yourself, our base ended up looking a little messy. Though before we even got to that stage, I had to whip the gang into shape.
Oh, we're still doing that?
Yeah, what? Did you all just stop?
I mean, yeah.
And you've just been standing there?
Yeah.
With only 6 days left on the clock, we could not tolerate slacking, but in order to motivate them a bit, I did agree to show them around the areas where I had previously spotted some otters. Everyone was awfully excited about the prospect of getting their own, so who am I to deny them that pleasure? Though I did feel kind of disrespected when I spotted a level 150 Therizino after having defeated the dragon. Do you have any idea how much time I spent looking for these just to end up with a slightly below average army? Anyway, while they were busy looking for otters, I flew on over to Carno Island. This is where I got the majority of my Ceratosaurus spines, so I figured if I slaughter enough of them, a high level will spawn eventually. I also took our little fob and transformed it with a few building pieces I found in nearby drops to function as a bit of a cage. Birdie was the first to find an otter, so he dropped by to help me with my project, and together we managed to find a Ceratosaurus and successfully lead it to the cage. But unfortunately, this isn't your typical knockout tame. We needed 2 things: the Hemogoblin cocktail we fashioned out of spines and blood, plus a fairly tanky creature. We had to feed the cocktail to said creature and then let the Ceratosaurus chomp into it, getting it drunk in the process. Very, very slowly. I was fairly certain that 11 cocktails would be enough for a level 145, but when I saw that our Bronto was down to almost half of its HP, with the stupid Cerato just being 21% drunk, I realized that the problem wasn't the amount of booze. By the time it reached about 34% drunkenness, the Bronto had perished and I tried to do a running swap over to Jinx, but that's when we realized... It's down to 14?!
What?
I'm angry. Okay, we gotta get out of here. Can you lead it away? This was a certified not good moment. We needed all of our most tanky creatures for the tech cave and overseer fight, so the best thing I could come up with was another Bronto. I mean, they've just been sitting here wasting oxygen ever since we tamed them, so we might as well get some use out of them. The stupid part, even with the saddle on, this Bronto took the exact same amount of damage as the previous one. The only other creature I had on me that could take a beating was Mobile, but in my frustration, I had not paid attention to my cryo sickness timer before tossing her out. But it could still work, right? It's not like you can't force feed creatures while they are asleep, so I should be able to get the Hemogoblin cocktail down her hatch. We just needed to make sure virtually no time passes between it biting the Bronto and then Mobile. Brandon had also joined to witness the tomfoolery after finding an otter of his own, but unfortunately for us, things didn't go according to plan.
It's working, it's working.
You want him to eat mobile?
Wait, why is it?
Yes.
Why is it dealing 400 damage? Why is it attacking me? Dude, it deals 400 damage!
Oh, this is bad. This
No,
is
no,
bad.
kill
This
it, kill
is
it, kill
bad.
it, kill it. We cannot let this happen. No, no, no.
Kill it?
No, 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 no.
Kill it?
Not like this.
Yeah, kill it, kill it, kill it.
Kill it! Kill it right now! Quick! What the hell? Dude, she was down to 2,900. That went less than ideal. So it turns out that tames suffering from cryosickness take additional damage. Who knew? I definitely didn't. But listen, I know we just lost a 145 Ceratosaurus, but I wasn't going to sacrifice our strongest Rex for it. Mobile has gone through too much with us for her to die like that. In fact, we were so determined to keep her alive that we decided to craft that ludicrously expensive saddle for her, the blueprint for which we found in the last episode. But needless to say that the Ceratosaurus has left a bit of a sore spot on us.
How did the taming go?
Great. Awesome. We had a great old time. Yeah, screw that creature. Since crafting the saddle would take a lot more resources, I decided we should first tend to the matters of the Giga. The first tame might have gone wrong, but Gigas are simple knockout tames, so I was feeling a lot more confident about being able to get that one for Birdie. Though such an endeavor would take the effort of our entire tribe, because we're idiots. Anyway, with a trap in my inventory, the boys and I made the way towards the location where Birdie had last spotted the giant beast. And boy howdy was that ever an intimidating creature. If we wanted to subdue this beast, we needed to do it the smart way. Yeah, Birdie, what's the plan? Stop stuffing your face and come up with a plan.
I don't know, bro.
You wanted it.
Just shoot it.
Echo.
Behind me, isn't it?
Run! Echo!
Oh my god,
Holy-
400 damage!
Done is cooked.
Hey guys, just shoot at him, alright? Okay, now that certainly complicated things a bit. After seeing Echo get his PT mauled to death, I was not about to sacrifice my own as well. I mean, this was Birdie's idea, so why wouldn't he be the one to place the trap? Except the rest of the tribe had no confidence in him being able to do that, and as such, Brandon and Echo tried to make some magic happen. The problem with the Giga is that it needs an absolute truckload of narcotics to knock out, but because we're so close to the ocean, we were afraid it was going to torpor run into the water and drown before we could tame it. But I mean, that's not my problem, is it? I watched them fruitlessly try to trap the Giga using metal gateways I crafted while sacrificing Echo to it over and over again. Eventually I decided, screw it, I'm the tribe leader and the most experienced ARK player in this group, so let me bless these poor souls with my epic gaming skills, which went really well until my PT got stuck in the Giga. At this stage I had to make a decision. Do I try to wiggle my way out, letting the Giga leave the trap, or do I sacrifice my PT in order to secure the creature? Well, it was a split-second decision, so I dropped down, placed the trap, and marveled upon how I achieved in 2 minutes what the rest of my underlings couldn't do in 20. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we got him!
Hopefully.
It only cost my damn pterodon.
No, I got Kiki out. Here.
Oh my god, you hero! Holy!
Guys, there's only one name we can give it.
Which is?
Giga
Giga
Chad.
Chad.
Okay. And with that, a legend was born, or at least so we thought. Now obviously, this was meant to be more of a trophy tame, given that we can't actually take it into the tech cave nor the Overseer boss fight. But it was such a low level with such incredibly awful stats that it literally dealt less than 400 damage a bite, making it virtually useless, especially considering that our T-Rexes are quite powerful. I mean, with Mate Boost, Mobile literally deals over 1,000 damage a bite. But now that everyone has achieved their personal goals, it was time to move the base as well as our dinos. Both our Therizino as well as our T-Rex army would come with us into the Overseer boss fight. Obviously, we packed up all of our bare necessities because even if we're not gonna end up spending a lot of time at the new base, we still wanted to make use of all the things we unlocked along the way. But it was a bit sad to think about how this was the last night we'd spent at New Man's Landing.
I gotta test it on
nope,
something.
nope.
Oh!
I guess it does kill it.
Why would you do that?
I didn't think it would kill it.
Isn't your gun like 200% or something like that?
It's only 310.
300? You shot it with a 310% rifle, and you're surprised that it
Think
died?
what's going to happen? Bro, look at him. He's
Oh
mangled.
no, I guess he doesn't use Arch anymore. Okay, a little bit of context to this drama. So Birdie decided to switch from Windows to Linux, and much like many a vegan, he just wouldn't shut up about how Linux is so much better, going as far as naming his otter after the Linux distro that he uses. Brandon, annoyed with Birdie's ramblings about Linux, figured he could teach him a lesson by knocking out said otter, not realizing that these things have basically negative HP. This definitely caused a bit of a divide in our tribe at a time where we really needed to work together. After having stuffed all of our most precious belongings into our birds, we made way towards the volcano to set up our final base for this series. Just that Brandon didn't make it to the mountain. While we were busy setting up camp, he was roaming the island in an attempt to find an otter to replace the one he killed. As for me, I spent the day harvesting some essential resources which at our new base location were absolutely abundant. Also spotting a level 150 Ceratosaurus which felt like a slap in the face. Towards the end of the day, when our metal was already smelting and everyone was ready to take a break, Brandon had finally arrived with a replacement otter.
Aw, that's so thoughtful of you.
Um,
We're even now.
I don't think we are, and I feel really bad, so I present you my apologies.
What the hell?
Alright,
Is this why you were gone for days?
Yeah, I found
hey
6.
Cliff, I got more otters.
I suppose everything was forgiven, and that just in time. It was about to be day 98, meaning we really only had one final day of preparation before we had to enter the tech cave. And we used that time to farm an absolute truckload of resources in order to craft Mobile the Saddle of Gods. And of course, mass produce some gunpowder on the side because Lord knows we're gonna have to pack some heat. I sent the tribe out to get some hide because we needed almost 16,000 of that stuff, but as it turned out, the boys had varying degrees of success with that quest. What's the bad news?
I don't like the way you pulled out the gun.
What's the bad news?
So, remember how I had Mobile out when Looker tried?
Yeah?
Mobile's fine, by the way. That's not the problem. So, like, I put Mobile back in the cryopod, and I forgot to get the hide.
Cliff wanted hide. He's gonna get his freaking hide. He said we weren't gonna come back here, right? So, this is way more anticlimactic than I was anticipating. God, they have a lot of health.
Unbeknownst to any of that, I continued harvesting away, but gamers, resources alone aren't why we decided to set up camp here. I also picked out this mountain because within it slumbers the tech cave. So once we were ready, we would be able to toss our army out and begin our attack. Except you can't use cryopods inside or even in the entranceway, meaning we had to pop them out a little ways away before getting them into position. But because we were worried about some of them accidentally walking into the lava, Echo took it upon himself to use any leftover building pieces to create a sort of fencing around it. I continued diligently crafting ammunition, Birdie was on a treasure hunt, and Brandon was about to come back with all the hide he collected. In the evening of day 98, I went through the mind wipe ritual one final time. All of my points in the crafting skill, 2100 metal, almost 16,000 hide, and one button press later, we had a 200 armor Ascendant saddle for Mobile. And because all of our remaining resources would be useless if we failed this battle, I used what remained to gamble on higher stat rolls for armor blueprints we already owned. It was day 99. All of our tames were out of the cryopods, lined up and ready to take on the Overseer. I've put the boss trophies into the terminal, hit summon, and braced for impact. The gates opened, but we had no indication for how long they were going to stay open for. We began with a slow and careful approach. Two of us were moving our creatures past the gate, and the other two were taking them to move them deeper in. Everything should have gone smoothly, except this is ARK.
Okay,
What is up with this T-Rex? Holy... Bro, this game is esports ready, dog. I just want to play the game! God, wild card!
That's how I'm getting
I'm losing it. I'm just getting stuck on air, literal air. Are there invisible tapes? Is that what's happening?
Maybe.
I think maybe because I don't see Rita.
Yeah, I see. No, I see you guys manifesting them, like genuinely manifesting them. On a straight. No, there's no need for you to turn. There's no need for you guys to turn. Stop it.
Hasn't been anything dangerous yet.
Don't stop saying that, bro.
stop, like, dude, you're just raising so many flags.
Real.
God, bro.
No sightseeing. Come on. Not the time to poop. Stop pooping. You're holding up the other guys.
You guys are just taking up 2 lanes.
I'm behind him.
Oh, you're not. Like,
I
you're not.
literally am, bro.
You're literally beside him.
Well, now I'm beside him.
Yup, a bunch of them are in the lava right now.
Ow.
Because they're dumb as bricks, that's why.
What is this?
What is this? Oh, don't touch that.
Don't touch that.
I think this is where we spawn the Overseer, Cliff.
Gentlemen,
Yep.
it's been a pleasure.
It was an honor.
Good luck, boys.
Yeah, getting everyone through the tech cave felt like an impossible task. Only 6 of our T-Rexes survived the gauntlet, plus the 2 that Brandon and Birdie were riding on, but at least most of our Theris had made it. Day 99 was about to come to a close, as was our adventure. This is what we worked towards for 100 days. Every loot drop opened, every creature tamed, and every stupid, avoidable death led to this moment. Because now, there was no turning back. We had what we had, and with that, we were facing the Overseer. Flies, that's flying things.
Oh no, they explode when you kill them.
Oh, that's really bad. Uh-oh, it's going for me. Why me? What did I do, bro? Oh, yo, what the? I got dismounted.
What?
Holy. What the hell is happening?
It's losing health, it's losing health.
Holy crap.
I'd hope so. Roly police, roly police.
Get the rolly boys. The boss turned the dragon. It turned on the dragon. Send the Theris, The Theris need to be on boss.
He's aggroed on me.
Oh god, Birdie's dead. That is why this fight is so tough. Not only do you have to survive the tech cave, but the Overseer itself can transform into every Guardian we had already defeated. The dragon being first was extremely unlucky. Birdie got fried immediately and our Rexes were falling like flies. Not to mention all the tech constructs that were messing with us. The only saving grace was that the Overseer dragon did not have as much HP as the original. When it transformed into the Megapithecus, I thought we could catch a break until I saw it slam our creatures for over 1400 damage a pop. And to make matters worse, did Brandon die as well?
I don't know, man. I think it's just you and me.
Oh god. The flyers are so damn tanky, man. Another phase. It's a tracking again. Okay, we need the Theris over here. We need the Theris.
I'm coming.
Oh god, I'm on fire. Dude, why the dragon again? Why the hardest one? my god, we're losing all of our Rexes. Things were looking dire, but I could not give up. I had a job to do, so I continued shooting down the drones whilst buffing our remaining dinos with Sated's Courage Roar. But just before we thought ourselves victorious, it had put up a barrier. I was fully expecting it to pull an Elden Ring move and reveal its final form, but at last... Yes! Oh my god, we did it! And Mobile is still alive, holy crap. Oh my lord. Okay, we have to go to the center. This was it. In the early hours of day 100, we had done it. The Broodmother, the Megapithecus, the Dragon, and now the Overseer. We had bested the island and earned ourselves this ascension.